Welcome back to Mike the Political Science Guy. Let's talk a little bit about transgenderism. Is it a perfect example of a social movement that has gone too far, or an example of a social movement that's pioneering new ground and should do well in the long run with the ground that it's pioneered? First thing we want to pay attention to is there's an outside context. Once you get out of the deep cities, is it something that's being embraced, or is it something that's being resisted? The outside context really involves suburban and rural families. And the battle of the suburbs is where the Democrats and the Republicans in the United States divide. And if the Democrats lose the suburbs, it's because they've lost families. So what is it the transgender movement has done that might have hurt the Democrats in the next election that's coming? If you think about what transgenderism is, it's really about inculcating elementary school children, and it's not something that a lot of parents are comfortable with because they know that that road is a very difficult road, and they know that their children are prepubescent. So ultimately, does it make sense for the Democrat Party to allow that wing of the Big Tent to push that issue as far as they pushed it, or is it wiser for them to think about it in terms of saying, look, we should be talking about being accepted and not being harassed, but not talking about inculcating children, not talking about preferred pronouns, because once you start intruding on that space, you lose the battle of the suburbs. Subsequently, that's a debate that the Republicans are not really going to be part of. That's going to be a debate that's internal to the Democrat Party, because the Republicans, if the Democrats don't move to the center, are going to get beat on that issue in the suburbs, which could very well decide the presidential election. So, just think of it like this. If you're going to vote for somebody and that person is saying, we want to inculcate your children with tolerance, that's probably just fine. But we're going to inculcate your children with proselytizing and maybe recruiting, not so good. Ultimately, that's something that will have to be decided on by voters. And in the suburbs, it's the only place that it's a toss-up. It's not a toss-up in the big cities, and it's not a toss-up out in the countryside. Subsequently, the battle of the suburbs involves middle-class families that have children that ultimately are maturing and usually becoming more conservative because they have to protect their children. So for the activists, it's a matter of being able to swallow their pride and realize that they can't get everything they want at one time. And if they can't get there right now, but they can get at least tolerance, if they could at least not be harassed, that's a win. Take the win, as Joe Biden would say. But if they can't get there and they take the entire Democrat Party down with them because they lose the battle of the suburbs, the Republicans are basically going to be able to ride the issue. So, again, it's one of those battles of the soul of the Democrat Party that has to be played out by Democrats. The Republicans are certainly going to be against transgenderism in elementary schools and even in junior high schools, and they're going to be against preferred pronouns, and they're going to make a lot of political hay out of it. And this is all stuff that's unnecessary if that social movement does not go too far. So good luck with that one. I'm Mike the Political Science Guy. Thanks for checking in.